All right. 3, 2, 1. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Trevino. I'm the president of St. Mary Parish Water and Sewer District Number 2, Bayou Vista. Tonight we're holding our meeting via video teleconference with the help of a live streaming from KQKI due to COVID-19 safety precautions. I'll begin with we'll call the meeting to order. The roll call. Mr. Tony Henskins.
Here.
Mr. Thomas Philbrook. Here. Mr. Paul Tholen.
Here.
All right. I believe we have one absent board member, Mr. Donald Lance. Mike, if we can ask you to mute your, if I can ask you to mute your mics while we're not speaking. Thank you. All right, next, Mr. Larry Fromenthal, or District Plumber.
Here.
All right, Mr. Reed Miller.
Here.
All right, Miss Melanie Caillouette.
Here.
All right, now the other guests we've got our administrative support, Miss Alexis Hartman.
Here.
And also Miss Katie. And what's your last name, Miss Katie?
Dory.
Dory. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody I missed? Okay. Proceeding with the meeting. Board members, if you had an opportunity to look over the minutes from the previous board meeting on June 8th.
I approve the minutes as written.
All right, I got a first from Mr. Thomas Philbrook to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second it.
I got a second from Mr. Paul Tholen. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye. Tony. Aye.
I'm gonna do a roll call. I'm gonna do a roll call vote. As far as all in favor, Mr. Tony Henskins.
Favor.
All right, Mr. Thomas Philbrook.
Approved.
And Mr. Paul Tholen.
Approved.
All right. Motion approved. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, telemarketers interrupting the call. Okay, that being said, next up is going to be the accounts payable. Board members, have you had an opportunity to look over the accounts payable?
I move that we accept the treasury report as so written and pay the invoices provided there in order. Tony.
All right, I got a motion from Mr. Tony Henskins to go ahead and pay the accounts payable. I have a second.
I'll second it. Paul Tholen.
All right, I got a second from Mr. Paul Tholen. Is there any discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mr. Thomas Philbrook, how do you vote?
Approved.
All right. Mr. Paul Tholen, how do you vote?
Approved.
And Mr. Tony Henskins.
Approve.
All right, motion passes. Let's pay the bills. Okay, next up, I've got Mr. Reed Miller to update us on the Arlington water project. Mr. Miller.
So the project is moving along fairly well. We've had some afternoon rainstorms with I guess it was kind of slowed us down a little bit. The contractor is currently working behind the truck stop. I think y'all know there was a small issue there. Friday, there was a service attached to the existing water line. When they made that bore, disrupted the ground in that area, and the saddle was pretty well just rotten. And so the service fell off the line. We had some water coming back in the hole. So the contractor was able to get in there. I think Larry had some support on hand while they were out there. They were able to find that saddle that was leaking, had to break out a little more concrete, get the repair made, and they were able to get that wrapped up right before dark Friday afternoon. So my inspector was on site the entire time. He's got everything documented. So we're going to be evaluating exactly what went on. But from all understanding, it was nothing. It was really nothing anybody had any control over. Then it was a service that nobody really knew where it was, and so we'll get with the contractor. We'll see how much time and materials he had in that repair, and then we'll probably just include something as a change order to the project to make that repair. So other than that, things are proceeding. Really now he can move on with the rest of his work. And
subject to any more weather or, I know the weather is hard to work with, but ballpark estimate, Mr. Miller, on when things go as,
for completion,
Yes, sir.
he gave us I think he said he had about 18 days left to complete the project. He did furnish us a schedule. I think that was last week. And Katie can correct me on that. So if we get some good weather ahead of us, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks, he should be able to wrap everything up.
Okay. All right. And likewise, if they need our district plumber, Mr. Fromenthal, I think he's trying to stay, close in the area if they need assistance or help. And we'll see. Okay, great. Appreciate that. All right, team, any questions from the board? All right, Mr. Reed, I know, appreciate you taking part. I know you've got another meeting, and I know you got Miss Katie Dory on the line. So thanks for your help and support.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you.
All right, next up, Mr. Larry Fromenthal with our plumbing report.
Yes, we had quite a bit for the month, even though it went by fast. We did finish the Boy Blue. When we did the smoke test, we had some issues. We had a manhole that needed to be resealed, and also capping of that piping and line that went onto the into that lot that was on Myrtle Street with all them 5 openings. So that was taken care of. So all that is all taken, repaired. So now we only thing left is the I think the clean outs and all that is for the customers themselves. We did have a leak that was on Venus, which was multiple leaks. I had to get into that road to do some repair. It was multiple lines that came off the main and that old main that was there. We did trace it out. It took some time to do. But anyway, that had to be repaired. So anyway, that I got rid of that because that leak was running down the road. Diamond tank, y'all had a meter that wasn't functioning properly and a valve and stuff. So we had to break, it was in the concrete. So we had to break concrete. We replaced that meter with electronics and also a valve and all the piping. Of course, as y'all know, we did some stuff with Arlington Road, trying to stay a little ahead of them with the little project that's there, because there are quite a bit of utilities that's involved in where they're working in a lot of the areas. We did have a hurricane that was supposed to have come in, and we did some prepare, and we actually put pumps in position during the month and removed them, if y'all remember. Of course, we're glad that hurricane didn't come through. That worked out well. We did finish Tesh and Bellevue, except for the mailbox that needs to be moved, for the concreting of the driveway and also the dress work pretty much. That was finishing for that sewer leak that we had there that was approved, y'all had approved. We did do, and I think y'all have that on the new business, that smoke test that was on Universe Street. We can talk about that whenever y'all want to talk about it. That was our main.
If you want to now, Mr. Laird, to talk about the Universe.
Yeah, we if you remember, we had one particular customer that was actually having an issue, and the main issue that was there. The other customers kind of, when they walk out their houses, had some odor problems. Well, we did have a total of 9 leaks. It was on that report that I turned in. But it was actually, most of that was on customers, clean outs, piping, and stuff that has to be addressed. They did have one main issue that it's in the street, which I had marked. I got what TJ showed him, is actually that line is broken into the road in multiple areas. That's pretty close. That's why I think some of the days when, depending on what wind blowing and all, when they walk out their houses, they can actually smell. So what needs to be done next is me to put my camera in to see exactly what's the issue and then address that issue. But anyway, it's definitely a bad break. It's a multiple breaks. It's not just a small break, because that smoke really penetrated that concrete.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Yeah, I think once we get to the new business, we'll go ahead and look at maybe a motion to get that one looked at via camera and get it repaired. All right, thank you, Ms. Fromenthal. All right, next up, I have Miss Melanie Caillouette, who oversees our sewer and lift stations. Miss Melanie.
Well, that I look over your mission control information data analysis, and what I did a lot of analysis on that, a lot of looking at the different numbers, trying to figure out what was be considered your dry weather average versus your wet weather and things like that. What I had found was that the Mayon station and the Boy Blue station for the time period of June 16th to July 17th was actually 17 times, it was pumping 17 times more than during dry weather. Now, some of that Larry may have fixed in Boy Blue when he did the smoke testing. Larry, when did you do those corrections, those repairs? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was done on the one for the report. That was on. Yeah, the manhole repair was on the 8th of July. In 7/7, yeah. I think those were just recently done.
So I'll look at again period, and like I said, I'll recalculate and see if it's through. But if you look at, I sent some data over to Mr. John, and basically the order in which the manholes the collection systems need to be looked at is Mayon, Boy Blue, Fungi, Baruch, and then get into the others. Like I said, I'll keep an eye on it, see if we're getting any benefits from, for the Boy Blue repairs. And when he makes the repairs on Universe, that should help out the middle road numbers. But it's an ongoing process of trying to find the problems and fixing them.
Okay, I believe
But on the on the Boy Blue station, I mean that area, we've done our part on the district end, but I think the customers have, because we had like 16 leaks in that area, which is a lot of clean outs and different things for the customers. So I'm thinking that once those repairs are done, you should see a big difference.
Okay.
Right, as far as I know, it's still pending the customers to do their part, so we just need to go ahead and just double check and make sure that they've capped off those check valves, or should I say those check plugs, and ensure that's been done. So I'm not sure that we're there yet, but we just need to, as a district, follow up.
Yeah, I would also suggest if Larry has time to do some smoke testing on the Mayon collection system, because like I said, that was the other one that had a higher, much higher percentage of II.
Okay. All right, when we get to the new business, we'll consider that as well. All right. All right, Miss Melanie, thank you. Board, any questions for Miss Melanie? All right, Ms. Melanie, thank you. You're welcome to stay on. We'll talk a little bit about projects. However, our main scope is identifying those projects for or large infrastructure movements with the hopefully a bond issue in the future. Okay. All right. Next up, board. If you've looked over the unbilled water report, it looks about the same as last month. Any questions?
Not really.
All right. Next up, one of the items where we had, I want to say items that we had for March, April, May, and going into June. Let me mute this call right here. 1 second. Okay. So what we did in view of the COVID-19 economic impacts, we went ahead and waived the late payments, and also did not perform any disconnects for any of the account holders that may have not, been able to pay their bills. And we actually did it for the entire district. As of July 16th, the Louisiana Public Service Commission, who oversees a lot of the utility organizations within the state. However, we don't fall under that organization. However, their guidance is as of July 16th, all of the accounts for customers for past due utilities are due. Okay. I know we've kind of addressed this in the past as a district. We've kind of done a lot of just, you're trying to accommodate as best we could for those months. However, like I said, Louisiana Public Service Commission, they went ahead and passed amended their original decree of no late fees, no disconnect. So with that being said, just open it up for discussion and what consideration the board might want. If we're going to continue to waive late fees and not have disconnects, it's up to you, board. Whether or not we're going to continue on for the bills that are due this month. However, we're well within our, it's well within our purview of the board to, collect on those past due accounts. So just open that for discussion from the board.
This is Tony. I don't have any problem with extending late fee issue and not having any disconnect and so forth. But we need to make sure that these people understand, the customers understand that we're merely ratifying the late fees and not the actual bills, because I heard them talking the other day. People, I didn't want to tell them anything. I just let them go. They'll find out at the office, oh, we don't have to pay, No, it's the fees that have been discounted and not the actual bills, So I don't have any problem extending it like we did. Whatever the board decides.
All right. Any other discussion?
I think we ought to put something out there that states that, because if we blindside people, they ain't gonna be happy about that.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I think probably.
We
I think other
we
districts.
have reached out to mostly everybody who has a higher balance and has anything truly over 30 days. We've every week or so we print a new list after updating payment. So honestly, looking at the list, like I printed a new one today. Somebody who has over $25 that's past due from 30 days. We have 75 people right now. Normally we do 25 on disconnect, so we could always even up the amount, but it's the same. It's the same, I guess, issues every month. But we have contacted everyone that we could and tried our best to, let people know that their bill is building up and getting, higher and higher to where when they would be disconnected, it's going to be a lot to try to get turned back on if possible.
Right. I just want to mention, appreciate that, Ms. Alexis. I think that the biggest issue we're running into, team, is that some folks are not paying anything at all towards their bill. And unfortunately, since we cannot give away our utility services, that this actually puts them further in the bind when it is time to get this caught up. So while I'm just my thoughts all for trying to continue to waive late fees. We just got to remember that whenever it's due, it's going to be due, and if they haven't made any payments yet, it's we can send them a letter, which I think might be a little bit more, advising them of unfortunately failure to pay. We'll have to disconnect the service. But whatever y'all decide, if you want to make a motion one way or the other, we make a motion and we can, have vote on it.
Well, how many do we have that are of high intensity bills that are still left over? In general.
Well, right now, like normally when we do disconnect, we do anybody with a $25 balance or higher. So if we stuck with that, right now we have 75 people. If you truly look at the people who have maybe over $125, $150 balance, you're still looking at probably a good 25 people. It's people that have not paid anything since back in March, since we decided to not do late fees and not do any disconnect. They haven't made payments at all.
Mm-hmm. I agree with what he said. That we probably need to put some of the statement out there saying that next month we'll start whatever, something like that, and the cutoffs will be effective and so forth and so on unpaid bills, because they look like they can just keep riding, and that was not the intent.
Janice and I have thought that a good idea might just be to raise your amount for disconnect, where normally it's 25 because normally people are just maybe one bill behind, but because of COVID, maybe raise it. So maybe if it's $100, maybe just change the amount of what you disconnect. So those who are maybe only 1 month behind that have been keeping up with it, they're just trying to get back on track, aren't penalized as far as the ones who haven't made any effort to try to, make any effort of making a payment.
Yeah. That might be a good idea, but I hate to raise anything right now because things are a little tight for a lot of people, especially in this time frame we're in.
All right, so I believe Mr. Tony, what she was talking about was raising the balance that they can allow remaining on the account. So right now, if they're $25.01, they're due for disconnect. If they're late, versus maybe a $45. They could still have like a $44 balance, and they
Right.
wouldn't get disconnected. They could pay that, work a payment
Right.
plan or something to pay it off. So that's
Right.
kind of what she's talking about, trying to alleviate a little. Yeah, just try to work with that.
I think that's a good idea then.
Yeah. So I don't know if $100 is the answer. Maybe 50, because you got to figure, $50 is double, what we allowed before, and obviously, it would give us a little bit more cushion for the account holder to make payments to pay off their account. However, maybe do two things. One, allow the balance to go from 25 to $50. If you owe more than $50, you know, it's basically a disconnect. However, send a
Right.
letter and say, hey, you know, the bill that you're getting for the month of July, it's due in August. Okay. You know, this is due. You know, we waived late charges. We're increasing the balance on this to $50 that we can work with, but we send a letter out in writing to all those late you know, late accounts, and just say, hey, this is what we have to do as a district, you know, because we have bills to pay as well. So if I get a motion for that, maybe increasing the balance on the accounts to $50 if they're, you know, late or past due, and also we'll send a letter letting them know that the July bill that is due to be paid in August is due, and at that point we are assessing late fees and disconnects.
Okay, I'll make that motion for you.
All right.
On it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, I got a second from Mr. Paul Tholen. All right, any more discussion? All right.
Just
roll
real
call.
quick, does that include, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
does that include a late fee tacked on as well?
The late fee being part of it, because there has been no late fees since March. So we haven't assessed any late fees, the March bill, April bill, May bill, or June bill. Or should I say,
Correct.
the May bill was, the June bill that was due, correct, Alexis?
So like tomorrow would be the day that we would put late fees for the bill that was due today. So that's, you know, it's June's bill, but it's paid in July. So then it would be the same thing as far as, are we starting disconnect back for July's bill? Because then that would not be due until August 20th. Because we
Correct.
always bill a month behind.
Correct. The July bill that is due August 20th, all right, is the bill that's going to have the late fee and also be subject to disconnect.
Okay.
Which will fall into, right, it was normally 10 days or 12 days after. It depends on the month.
It's normally about 14 days from the time it's
Yeah.
due to the time we do disconnect.
Yeah, so it would be around during the first week of
Of August.
first
Yeah.
week of, it actually would be the first week of September that they would get disconnected, correct?
Well, we're going to mail out July's bills at the end of this month. So those bills will be due August 20th. So then if they're not right, so then it would be September, the first week of September as far as the disconnect.
Yeah, so the important parts of this is it's the July billing period that is due August 20th, all right, for the July billing period. And that's what we're gearing our late fees and our disconnects is going to be the July bill that's due August 20th, okay?
Okay.
All right, so, all right, any more discussion? Roll call vote. All right, Mr. Philbrook.
Approved.
All right, Mr. Tholen
Approved.
and Mr. Henskins.
Approval.
All right, motion passes. All right, team, next, in your packets, you have the priority list. And this is gonna be, we're not gonna rack and stack these yet, if that makes sense. But the biggest thing is we need to be aware of the many projects pending that need to be addressed. I know I saw Miss Melanie's list. Of course, Mr. Larry, it kind of looked over the list as well. And then, you know, Mr. Reed also provides. So be aware of the many projects we have the auditor gave us a firm report on all the depreciation. And what depreciation means, right, is that we've got an aging system. We have an aging infrastructure that will fail. And obviously we need to do our part to try to stay ahead of that as much as possible by addressing those needed projects before they fail on us. Okay. All right. As far as fire protection report, y'all may have looked over that. I sent that out early in the month with the flow readings for the fire hydrants that were tested. I did talk to Miller Engineering about possibly creating us a spreadsheet that kind of just identifies all the hydrants and just allows us to get a working template on us addressing each individual fire hydrant, because we kind of need to develop that program. Miss Katie, did Mr. Reed talk to you about that a little bit?
Yes, he did mention exactly what you just said about having like a kind of like an Excel file that would include all of the data and everything on each hydrant, and we would provide that to y'all so that it could be updated as required.
Exactly, and that would just basically be a starting point, and then be for us as a district or for maintenance guys, or if we need to look at that as a project to basically get out there and just do a good, working inspection on each fire hydrant to make sure that they're working, they're doing what we need them to do. It may be a new business item, and I'll wait till we get there, but I'd like the board to go and just allow our might be a lot of work, but I guess sign up Mill Engineering to provide us with that Excel spreadsheet so we can go ahead and have that in place, so we can start identifying the hydrants and start doing some internal inspections, or get assistance if needed, but start the ball rolling with a just a template for that.
The fire department doesn't have a listing of all the hydrants?
Well, they've got from the report we saw, they had a sampling. So we may have to reach over to the Patterson Fire Department, right? Because as far as I know, Victoria Riverside, I don't know that the Bayou Vista Fire Department works with those. Would you know, Tony?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't. I believe that's out of their jurisdiction. I consider it Patterson, right?
Probably so.
Yeah, so that's why I think I think with engineers involved, we can get a no doubt. Hey, this is everything hooked up. This is everything that's been added as fuel. Obviously, the fire departments, will be utilizing, but we spread out basically over 3 different townships. We got some in Berwick too, right?
That's right. I mean, you got to, if we're going to end up taking on the northern side of the test, we're going to end up on River Road and Berwick also, probably, since that is the district that we're talking about.
Sure. That's our responsibility. I wish we could, divvy that out. Obviously, if we had some agreements in place, maybe, once we identified all of them and got, all locations, and the other thing too is kind of working copy to make sure it's updated as well. Because it's the Fromenthal, if you want to expound on that.
Yeah, I think, you need to get that report. See all the weaknesses in the system in that one. I know that's just the Bayou Vista area, and do the same thing with the other parts of the system. Like get Patterson to give you the engineer Miller engineers that information and let it compile, and then start off at that point to see what weaknesses and what's needed in the system. And then that will tell you what worked and what things will need to be done with that system. I think that's the first step that needs to really be done. And then you can, and then making a history, getting all the hydrants and all the pressures and all that, and having that at the district would be a good idea. Usually the fire department does have that. They usually give the district a copy of what they've done each year, and it tells you all the pressure readings and all the stuff that's there. And also for work, they've also reported different problems over the last 30 years that I've been there. But anyway, starting at that point, I think that's the way to do it, and then you can work out what needs to be done.
Okay. Yeah, because I know at one time, as volunteer fire departments go, new chiefs come around, different things come around, but I guess ultimately us as a district, because it's basically the insurance raters for the state, they come out and they do a sample. And if you saw the list of the hydrants that were tested, there's only maybe less than 25 maybe hydrants that were tested. So just a small sample of the hydrants that we have throughout the district. So I'd like to see something from the fire department, but my thoughts are that it's not out there, or we'd have a copy of it already. Because
Yes,
go ahead, Mr. Larry.
Yeah, I've been waiting to get with them. We had a busy month, and to have them complete that report. I mean, they sent some things, but I really needed to actually get with them to go through that report myself to see exactly. I've had some issues when they have come in the past with some of the pressure readings that they've done, and I had to have them come back out and retest. Like we had one on University, I'll just let you know, it showed very little, and that was no way we had that little of pressure on the whole system. That's a loop 8-inch system. When he came back out and he retested it, it was great. I mean, it was like, oh no, you have more pressure here than in some other most of the other areas. Well, I knew that because I've been with them before. So sometime looking at that report, I want to make sure that they did what was supposed to be done with that report, because there is sometime room for error in it.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess all I'm looking for is just a way ahead to engage Bill Engineering to provide us with a product that we can just start working off of to identify all the hydrants, and then kind of break down the methodology to making sure all of these hydrants are working and functioning as they're supposed to be. Because, like I said, the hydrant test you have is just a small sample of all of the hydrants. All right, well, okay. Well, if I don't have a motion on that, we'll sure just that'll be tabled, and we can look at that further later time. All right, next up, adopt the millages. All right, so we talked about this previously. However, the bottom line on the millage is that what I'd like to have is a no increase in total millages that we have on the district. And no increase. We'll keep the total millages the same. It's at 11 millages at this time. All we're doing is just taking the split between the debt service and the actual O&M. Last year we had a split of 9 millages for O&M and 2 millages for debt service. What I'd like to see is a millage structure, 11 millages, okay? And what that will do is allow us to obviously start addressing maybe a few of these maintenance repair projects. However, allow us to remain constant with the district amount of millages. And then once we getting to the bond debt, we can probably talk about that a little bit further as our trying to keep this, like I said, just keep a steady, rate and utilize that to the best of our ability to address all the concerns and projects of the district. So I guess I'm looking to approve a millage rate of 11 mills of O&M for the district.
But John, we had 9 mills for the operation and maintenance, and the 2 mills was for the bond and indebtedness, correct?
Correct.
That 2 mills is gone now since we paid off the bond and indebtedness, correct?
Right, correct.
And we had always agreed all through the years, once that was over, it was over, and then we go back to the 9 on O&M, and I think it was earmarked and so forth and so on for that reason. I don't know if we could actually collect the money and not have a bond to pay off,
Right. So here's the gist of it. So if we go with the 9 mills, so the intent of, and it's further down the agenda, but we can address it now. The intent of is the projects that you've looked over and reviewed, right? They're substantial, correct? So the intent is to have and of course it'll be up to the voters, but to have a bond issuance, okay, to address those projects that need to be undertaken. Okay, so while we can go down to 9 mills if you like, we'll actually be looking to raise that back to 11 mills once we issue the bonds.
Well, and I think the parish is trying to get the millage lowered, from what I can understand, in order to try to entice businesses and so forth and so on. And that was always the case, as soon as we get that bond and indebtedness all in, all done, we can go back down to just the regular O&M side, And if we see later on we got a whole bunch of projects to do, whatever, combine them, and we can always try to float a bond issue by way of the voters if need be.
Right. So I think we're on the same page. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So that's why you have the project list in hand, right, Ms. Tony? You see those?
Well, I'm not exactly in favor of all those items listed as that on that project.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got $150,000 $1 million projects that I don't think if it's not broken, let's don't fix it, okay? I mean, you can't have a whole system sitting on the side waiting to be put in service. To me, that's not a good way to. I mean, it'd be beautiful if you had all the money, but we don't have that kind of money. I don't think so.
So we're looking at and I wish I was a, how to say it, engineer in all aspects of the word, but that's kind of why we seek advice and guidance of those that handle their work on these systems in various municipalities to get their, I hate to call it, but expert consultation on this as to what needs to be addressed. I mean, I'm like you, I wish I paid 0 millages, but I know in being involved with this water district that 0 millages is not going to maintain the infrastructure and all the projects that are needed to keep this water at the standard that it's at. A lot of people say, well, we want to get rid of millages. Well, how are you going to maintain the infrastructure? I'd like to maybe get a little bit more talk from maybe Miss Melanie and even Mr. Larry on their thoughts of not addressing and not taking care of some of these infrastructure projects that are kind of evident that they need to be addressed. Miss Melanie, you have maybe a few words on.
Yeah, well, when you're dealing with infrastructure, it's always better to do preventative maintenance than it is to do replacement. And so I know that one of the items on the list is the cutting of all the manholes in the system. And we know already that we have some manholes in the system that need to be replaced or at least very heavily repaired. And so if we continue to keep putting this project off, instead of replacing or repairing maybe 10% of the manholes you have out there and doing preventative maintenance on the other 90%, you may be ending up doing repair and replacement on 30% and only being able to prevent on 70. And so it really does drive up your cost. And not only that, but by pushing it further and further into the future, your cost itself to do the maintenance is going to be much higher than what if you would do it now. So you have to look at inflation. You have to look at how much more wear and tear you're going to have on it at the time that you're planning on doing it in the future than instead of doing it now. So yeah, if you have the money, it's always better to do preventative maintenance instead of actual repairs and replacements later on.
Thank you, Ms. Melanie. And Mr. Larry, what are you seeing in some of the repairs that you've been working on lately in the area?
Well, on that list that you have, y'all actually working on Arlington Road, and y'all actually doing that replacement, and and some of that actually gonna leave some of the repairs because that line was in really bad shape. You do have on your list some priorities that are there that is actually tied in with that and some other things, and I'd have to reprioritize some of that stuff. But the list that we gave, basically, the list that was made is stuff that is mandatory, and I say mandatory that eventually get done. It's things that will be, it's at the point where it's kind of like at the end of its life. So it really needs some attention. The lines that you still have some AC lines that's on Jupiter Street. You do have some older lines that's on David Road. You do have quite a bit that's out there that really does need attention. I mean, it's not like it may be tomorrow, but it might be tomorrow. So you spending some of that money on some of these repairs and patching, whereas you could be doing some of the replacement, at that point for some of the larger stuff. I agree with Melanie. I think some of the manholes, in fact, that when we're gonna get to new business on Universe Street, that one manhole needs to be recoated. It needs to be refurbished because it had an issue along with that main line that's there. I think going through the system and trying to upkeep it with the maintenance, sometime as we were doing in the last quite a few years, has kept us to the point of where we're at. But y'all have done quite a few new lines in the system for the water, which is a great improvement. Y'all still have quite a few more that are old that's in there that still needs to be addressed. So I mean, I'm kind of like, you got to take between the two. You do have some replacement that, like I said, that list was made as a priority list for y'all as a board, because those are things we felt would be, and y'all felt, I think, would be necessary to keep the system going.
So appreciate that, Mr. Larry. So I guess my thoughts and my vision is that we want to try to be proactive and try to be on the front end of these things versus some of these entities, you hear about these massive failures that occur where they haven't inspected, they haven't checked out, they haven't replaced, and how did that happen? So I think because the board and the district has been engaged with not only fixing those things that break, we're trying to stay on the front end. Because if possible, I mean, we don't want things to fail. We don't want things to fail at bad times. And if possible, we want to provide, it's a 24/7 task, providing that safe drinking water and safe water services 24/7. And I think, just like my car, if I don't bring it, the oil change. All right, I get tired of getting my oil change in my car. I get tired of getting maintenance put on my vehicle. But if I don't do it, it's gonna break down on me sooner or later.
Well, and that's the reason that I always say what needs to be done now, because I know we got an age system. I mean, it's 60 years old plus, and let's fix what needs to be done. We don't need to go out and look for new projects. That we got people that have been living there for 50, 60 years that paid for this system. We need to keep them in their system and so forth, water and sewer, in good shape. And we got a lot of repairs to do. I mean, it's old, you know, and I'd say we need to look at that first. That was my priority there, you know.
Sure, well, no doubt. You know, obviously it's prioritizing the price, but I guess the fact remains, you know, that as best we prioritize them, you know, the work still needs to be done. You know, at Arlington, you just talked about the break there. Basically, we had a line that failed, okay? That line failed over on Arlington while they're trying to change out, put that new section in, okay? Like the engineer said, I mean, how do you know, it's kind of an unavoidable thing. We're trying to put a new line in the portion that they identified that you know, it kind of like jumped out at them, just failed, right? So I don't know how to elaborate on that. I mean, I wish everything under the ground was, you know, just, you know, the earth didn't move, the conditions didn't shift, you know, but what I want to be careful of is saying that we don't need adequate funding. You know, we don't need adequate funding because we don't have the projects that need to be done. I think we have numerous more projects than we can handle. We need to prioritize them to where it's a manageable, you know, on the debt, manageable on the customers, you know, but do best we can with the limited resources we have to fix and address the things we've identified, you know. So, I mean, I'm leaving up to the board on the millages, but you know, it's up to you. But I can't see not addressing the projects, and we do not have the annual income to address all these projects or even prioritize the big projects. You know, with doing away with the millages. So that's up to you as a board. You know.
Well, let me ask this question, and that was my original question. I thought that was all dedicated, the 9 for O&M, which we know, and the 2 for the bond and indebtedness. Do we have the right to use? We don't have any more bond and indebtedness. It's satisfied, so to speak. But do we have the right to use this money to repair things and so forth? That's what my question is. I don't have any problem maintaining our district and fixing things that need to be done and so forth, you know?
Yes, all the O&M can be utilized to repair the district. All of it. You know? It's the flip flop. You have debt millages, then that has to be paid towards a bond, and the bond was to be done either for an infrastructure project to build something or an infrastructure project to repair something, you know. But no, all the O&M can be utilized for repair and maintenance, all of it. Okay, that's why I want to keep this as it is, a constant stream. Okay, and we can use all the millages towards O&M and a repair. I mean, that's, you know, that's it just you're working. If we've got projects, we've got repairs, that's what it goes towards. But no, all the millage can go towards repair. I mean, it's part of it.
Well, I don't have any problem with it if it's legal. I don't have any problem with it.
Right. No, I talked to the bond attorney today.
And which one did you speak to?
How's that?
Which one did you speak to?
Yeah, Mr. Black. He works with Mr. Akers.
Okay, the ones in New Orleans?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So get a motion for approve for 11 mils of O&M, support the district.
I'll motion it.
All right, I got a first from Mr. Cohen. I have a second.
I'll second that motion.
All right, I got a second from Mr. Thomas Philbrook. All right. Any more discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mr. Tony Henskins?
Yes, sir. I'll vote for it.
All right, Mr. Thomas Philbrook?
Approved.
Mr. Paul Tholen?
Approved.
All right, Mills is approved. Thank you. All right, I know that Mr. Fromenthal had discussed the smoke testing on Universe, number of breaks there. I'm looking for a motion for us to allow him to do his diagnostics with his camera to see what exactly the extent of the break, and then also address the break by doing needed repairs to fix those sewer lines in the Universe area, Universe Street. I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All right, I got a first from Mr. Paul Thole. I got a second from Mr. Tony Henskins. Any discussion? All right, well, roll call vote. Mr. Thomas Philbrook?
I approve.
All right. Mr. Tony Henskins?
I approve.
Mr. Paul Tholen?
I approve.
All right, Mr. Larry. Let's address that. Thank you.
Yeah, we sure will.
The other thing is, of course, the Mion station, as Ms. Melanie had mentioned, just seems like definite water infiltration. I'm looking for a motion, have Mr. Larry do a smoke test, diagnostics, in whatever area, Mr. Larry, you're looking at smoke testing, would it be?
That'd be the Mayon area, also the Fongy area, I think she talked about. And then I think we already did Boy Blue. And I think that's her main areas. Is that right, Melanie?
Yes, my top three were Mayon, Boy Blue, Fongy, and then if we want to go one more further, it's Barouf's.
Okay. We had issues in the past in some of them areas that were back there, the Petite Ville and all that. So, and also while addressing that, I think we need to do an inspection at Cameron again to go back into their yard, because some of that goes into the Boy Blue area also. So but all that as a whole would be a big improvement. I'm sure we're going to find some things, and that would be a big help.
Okay. All right, board. I'm looking for a motion for a district plumber to go ahead and smoke test the Mayon station, Fungi station, help me out, Miss Larry.
So move.
Yeah, I know Boy Blue as well,
The Barouse.
and Barouse stations, as well as your inspection on the sewer lines of your Cameron Iron, or should I say Cooper Industry. So can I
It's not
get
Cooper.
it? West, yeah, it's Cameron. Lumberjay.
Lumberjay.
Lumberjay. All right, so I get a first.
So move.
I'll make a motion.
All right, I got a first from Mr. Tony Henskins, and I got a second from Mr. Paul Tholen. Is that right? Any discussion?
No, that wasn't me, but that wasn't me, but I'll second it.
All right, I'll swap that. First from Mr. Tony Henskins, a second from Mr. Thomas Philbrook. All right, any discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mr. Paul Tholen.
Approved.
Mr. Thomas Philbrook.
Approved.
Mr. Tony Henskins.
Approve.
All right. Okay. Last thing on the, I think the working budget. If y'all have looked over the budget team, this is mainly for your, just for your review to take a look at. Obviously, just let me know if you see any areas of or concerns within it. Okay, but as far as the last part of new business that we addressed, that I feel is very important, we have the office staff is working under these COVID-19 conditions. As you know, we currently have the community center is closed. We're utilizing the drop box for payments. So what I would like to see is we get not only get some estimates, but see about basically a sneeze guard slash a glass barrier, a plexiglass barrier between the customers and the employees that collect the payment. Some of the other water districts and offices have something pretty robust. That go all the way from the counter up to the ceiling. I think they even have some speaker devices. Just really looking at safety of the employees and safety of the public. While we still haven't locked it this time. Yes, sir.
Do we need to go to the ceiling, or can we go, say, 6 or 8 foot above the counter? That wouldn't be enough.
Right, that may be enough. What we'd like to do is just obviously get some quotes on and see what'll be high enough. Obviously, it may be two things, like you say, go higher on the glass, going smaller. Right now, there's probably a 3-4 inch opening on the counters. So probably going both ways, smaller with the opening on the counter and higher on the glass. And I think it, and I look at this as a water district, obligation versus a recreation district, since it's our office. So I guess just planting a seed there. We'll get some quotes together, and then maybe we'll we'll see about doing a fix.
Yeah,
Obviously,
let's get the quotes and we can all discuss it and do whatever. But I have no problem with that. Do you need a motion for that?
well, yeah, the only well, I don't think it will change substantially, but if it changes before our next meeting, Ms. Tony, that's kind of my only concern. But maybe we can do a straw poll. If that, because I think we definitely need to address it and upgrade it.
Well, definitely. I think we need to do that. It's not going to be very cheap. You know what I mean? For damn sure.
Well,
But one thing you might look at, aluminum nowadays, for some reason, they all got to use that. If we got to, we can use some wood, for your little side moldings and so forth to attach it to, just so we can get it done. I think it needs to be done quickly.
Right. Yeah, so that's probably the biggest thing. Yeah, biggest thing is getting the quotes in order. I don't know, Miss Alexis, were y'all able to get any feedback? I know it's kind of short notice.
We weren't. We had talked with I know we had talked with Ferris Glass. That was his office that I had sent you those pictures of. But we weren't able to get anybody in. I know that we kind of discussed with him maybe going up to the top of the door frame, as far as, because this side, like where the employees come in, there's no like to meet the ceiling. It's higher on that side. So I know he had said something about plexiglass, and then the corners and your edges and everything would just be smaller than that actual picture that I sent you. But I know it's going to be more, it's going to be on the higher side.
Did he give us a ballpark at all, or?
He said for sure just to do the long part, like where our desk sits, would be probably 1,500.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Unless we want to go up to an amount, gentlemen, like, maybe maybe if that's it, 1,500, or, or we want to go ahead and wait. Let's go
I
ahead
don't have
and
any problem. Go ahead and just go to 1,700 or whatever, 1,800 in that general range, let's get it done.
all right, all right, so I just call it the 2,000, limit 2,000. Obviously we'll get some estimates and make sure it meets the requirements of what, keep the office staff safe and the public safe. So if I get a motion on that.
I'll make that
Make a
motion.
All right, I got a motion from Mr. Cohen, and I got a second from Mr. Henchkin. To go ahead and we'll limit that to up to 2,000, and get the estimates and make sure it meets the requirements to just allow for safety for employees and the public. Any discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mr. Philbrook,
I approve.
Mr. Tholen, Mr. Paul,
I approve.
okay, and Mr. Henchkin.
I approve.
Okay, motion passes. All right, I guess up to any other business. All right, Mr. Larry, yes?
Yeah, I have just one thing, and it has to do with new business, and it's to do with the Arlington Street project that we haven't done. We kind of went through things, because I've been on that project with them guys. And I think, is Katie still online here? Is she still online where she can hear us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. I noticed down some of the streets that for valves, it's lacking of valves that was put in the print. I'm thinking we need they definitely need some more valves put in. Like you got Fairview Street, and you got those different little areas that go in. Right now, we're having to shut off all the way from Southeast Boulevard, and then shut off Anthony Street, and then shut off that whole loop in order to, going down that particular road. I know it's mostly trailer parks and what have you, but I think it's in the best interest if we had some more valves put in at each one of those road areas, because that way, if you have a break in the future, you can shut off without having to shut off some of them other parks and what have you. I was looking through, I was thinking that they had already and had them included. We ran across this when they did Middle Road. I had lacking some valves that was put in, and now I have to shut off like a section beside, not just each roadway. So I guess for the board, I'm just kind of maybe let me talk with them a little bit and show them what I think I advise that would need to be done. And it's not that many, but I think it would benefit doing it now, and the cost would be more effective to have that. And also the benefit for later, if something happens, a saddle someone's digging, breaks a line, you won't have so many people out of water. You have Anthony Street that makes that loop right there. And I realize you just got the truck stop there, but then parks and all that other areas, but it's the concern.
I think that's a good idea.
All right, so you need a motion for Mr. Larry to engage. I guess the contract, or should I say, yeah, through the project engineer to engage about possibility of adding additional valves on that line and a possible change order. Correct? That's probably what we're looking at, a change order, possibly. Okay.
So it wouldn't be that many. It's just enough to cover what we need.
Okay. All right. So do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Got a motion from Mr. Tony Henchkins. Do I have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second that motion.
All right. I got a second. I think Mr. Paul Tholen chimed in first. All right. Any discussion? All right. Roll call vote. All right. Mr. Thomas Philbrook.
I approve.
All right. Mr. Paul Tholen
I approve.
and Mr. Tony Henchkins.
I approve.
All right, team. Okay. if there's no other further business to discuss, Mr. Bell? Okay, Bell.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, on your bonds, when you're going out for bonds again, I know that you work with Foley and Judell, and they're really, really good, and they're going to probably tell you this too. But for your sewer projects, DQ has the Clean Water State Revolving Fund that they loan out money at 0.95% interest rates for at on a 20-year term. And then you also have DHH that does the Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund, and theirs is at 2.45%, and theirs will go up to 30 years on terms. So you do have to do some additional front end work to get those bonds, but I don't think you're going to find another bond on the market at those kind of interest rates.
Ms. Bell, is that like earmarking a specific project like the lift stations or the sewer, or is that depends on?
Yes, when you're going to do your pre-applications, your applications in any kind of feasibility study or whatnot that you required, you're going to have to tell them which projects you want to do and why.
Okay. All right, great. Appreciate that. And we're going to be we're sending out a packet to the bond attorney. We're going to have or reports or financial. They have a project listed we have some for, and we're going to start working with them to where we can possibly look at a bond issue possibly the spring next year. And it wouldn't actually take effect till 2022 at the beginning of 2022. So okay, but appreciate that. Obviously, Mr. Akers and his team, and we'll look into that. All right, appreciate it, Ms. Bellamy. All right, team. If there's no other business, I guess we're looking for adjournment. All right, I got a first from Mr. Henskins. I have a second. Second for adjournment.
I'll second it.
I'll second that motion.
I got a second for Mr. Tholen for adjournment. Any discussion? All right, a roll call vote. Mr. Philbrook?
I approve.
Mr. Tholen?
I approve.
And Mr. Henskins?
I approve.
All right, team. All right, thank you all. And
Thank you.
good night.